All right, welcome to the daily market recap for Tuesday, August 5th. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the action of the indexes, liquid leaders, industry ETFs, and then end the video with long and short setups going into tomorrow. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and if you want my market thoughts throughout the trading day, along with a live stream at the market open, you can sign up for the Discord using the link below. Jumping into it, taking a look at the NASDAQ first, QQQ, we said in yesterday's video to just expect more volatility. Don't expect a clean uptrend to begin. Given the volatility that we saw Thursday, Friday last week, and the big gap up and rally that we saw yesterday, and volatility is what we got today. We uppercut and failed at that resistance gap, closed near the low of the day, right at the 20-day moving average, ending the day down 0.7%. And if you zoom out, when was all the easiest trading? When the indexes were above the 20-day moving average and volatility was tight. Now that volatility has been introduced to the market, things have gotten a lot tougher on the long side. So just a look back at what worked in the market and what makes a more challenging market. The S&P 500, similar action, only down 0.5% on the day. Uppercut and fail of the resistance gap, closed right on the 20-day moving average. It's not all bad news though, because we did see rotation once again from mega cap stocks into smaller stocks. Taking a look at IWO, which is the growth stocks of the Russell 2000, great action today. Bounced at the 20-day moving average, ending the day up 0.4%. Now we would just look for a pullback, a higher low here to build, and then we can test this resistance gap with a little bit more power there. ARKK still giving us some warning signs. Two resistance gaps on the upside. Today, just an inside day on lower volume, down 1.25%. The direction that this breaks will give us more clarity. Do we take out the 20-day moving average and the previous two highs, or do we roll over, take out today's low, and start to accelerate to the downside? Just another test of the market. And then IBIT, what we'll use to track Bitcoin. We did take out Friday's low, but then rallied a little bit. Very similar to ARKK. Do we take out the highs of the last couple of days, or do we accelerate lower? I don't know the answer to that. That's going to be a test for the market. Jumping into the liquid leaders, Robinhood, first off, doing nothing wrong. Yesterday's action was so perfect. Undercut of the 20-day moving average, undercut of two support gaps, then rallied to end the day up 6.5%, right at the high of the day. Today, perfect action as well. Just sideways action down 0.9%, while the indexes, NASDAQ was down 0.7%. Since this is a higher beta stock, you would expect it to be down even more than that. And it wasn't. We closed basically right at the open, better closing range than the indexes as well. If we can get the indexes pulling back just another day while Robinhood tightens up another day, this like 2-day pivot or 3-day pivot at 107 is going to be a very nice spot to take. Still going to be on the long watch list, so we'll cover that in a second. Roblox, if you basically just cover up that earnings sell-off bar, the chart still looks intact. It's still above the 10-day moving average. Today, just a quiet inside day. Is this a small gap down? No, not even a gap down. So as long as this is above the 10-day moving average, yes, this got out ahead of itself, and because of that, we sold off for 2 days. But I don't actually think that the chart is overall broken at this point. If we lose the 10-day and start accelerating down, then yeah, this is going to be an easy hindsight sell. But overall, I still think Roblox is acting well. GEV, AI powered energy, has been the leading theme of the market lately. Today, a little lower high, lower low on low volume. Pulling back into that 10-day moving average, the support gap, and the high volume close from the 23rd's earnings would be a good spot to either manage risk or just use as a test for the market. I like to set a lot of alerts at these key areas for key stocks to see how the market responds at that area. Even if I don't take the trade myself, it's something that I kind of use to get a feel for the market. NVIDIA, not doing anything wrong. Sideways action today. We'll see if that eventually pulls into the 20-day moving average and support gap at 170, 140. That's a spot that I would be watching. Rocket Lab continues to just flag out. Perfect looking flag here going into earnings. Earnings Thursday after the market closed. So if this didn't have earnings, it would be on the watch list just through today's high, but earnings in 2 days. So we'll sit out there. Palantir, new all-time highs after earnings, up 7.8%. Strong closing range compared to the index, so great relative strength. Not the same type of action that we saw with Roblox's extended gap up on earnings or Microsoft's. Overall, just super strong stock, and we'll see how high it can continue to go. Reddit, uppercut and fail the resistance gap from a while ago from previous highs here. Now just looking for a pullback into the HVC, allow that 5-day moving average to catch up. That's the spot that I would be watching. MP, new all-time highs. Well, all-time highs today? I think all-time. Either way, 52-week highs, all-time highs. I'll check later. Uh, Opened on the low, closed on the high. Great action overall. And then DoorDash, sideways action today, still above the 5-day moving average. Also has earnings after the close tomorrow on Wednesday. Taking a look at some of the industry ETFs, gold, whoops, we'll sort by price percent change today. Gold, GDX, gold miners, continues its breakout after the test of the 50-day moving average, gap up on Monday. Monster move here. And gold has been really just in a monster uptrend lately. NLR, nuclear and uranium. We've talked about the AI energy theme as one that's leading the market. Great action putting in a higher low overall in the uptrend, two gap ups through the key moving averages. Now, just like a higher low pullback into the 20-day would be really good for the overall structure, but that doesn't mean it has to happen. We could just continue and make some new all-time highs here, but I'd love to see just a lower volume pullback, give some of those names a really nice pivot to work with. ITB, Home Builders ETF, continues to look like this is bottomed and continues to give us a signal that rates have probably topped. Blue accumulation bars, both in price and volume. Higher lows, support gaps, now actually building on the upside. We took out the 200-day moving average today and then closed at this resistance gap. Overall, just a signal that rates have probably topped. XBI biotech also very rate intensive or rate sensitive. Really looking at the 200-day moving average and the resistance gap here through this area, and I think biotech can get a squeeze. I do want to cover, where is it? Semiconductors, SMH, not doing anything wrong. Undercut the 20-day moving average and support gap, closed right around that area. More consolidation here would be welcomed. We've had this nice run. Now can we consolidate for 3 to 5 weeks, set up another run higher? KWEB, forgot to mention that. Chinese Internet ETF. This is looking more and more like just a breakout retest of the 50-day moving average. Then we get this island gap. Gaps, like I've said before, not as important when stocks trade on other exchanges, like Chinese stocks. But overall, great shakeout on Friday, gapped up on Monday. Now, if we can kind of tighten out here at 35.60, that would be a pivot that you could take versus yesterday's low. And on the weak side, cybersecurity continues to act weak. Bearish engulfing candle on less volume than yesterday, but still not the action that you want to see. Jumping into the long setups here, we basically covered the Robinhood setup through today's high, that 107 pivot. That would be the spot that I'm watching. One more day of tightening up would make this an A plus setup for me. If it, I am still going to take the trade through 107. But if we can get another day tightening up, that would make it even better. CEV, we already covered. HVC, 10-day moving average and support gap. And then Reddit, we also covered, just looking for a pullback into that gap zone, into the HVC and the 5-day moving average in the next day or two. SoFi is one where I kind of do or die spot, I would say. It's been acting kind of funky from earnings. It gapped down. It was up like 18% or something on earnings, sold off, and then gapped down on the announcement of the offering. Since that offering has been soaked up, then we had volatility in the market, good relative strength the last couple days. Now we're just looking for a pullback into the support gap, into the 20-day moving average, right where we're seeing these wicks and the supportive action. Because we have a resistance gap overhead, I don't like to trade that on strength. Once we have a resistance gap, I won't say only, but almost always trade on a undercut and rally of a support gap or a key moving average, a previous low, something like that. Don't tend to like to trade on strength when you have a resistance gap overhead. So for SoFi, we'll look at that 2107 area. Quick undercut of that and reclaim would be the buy point. Net, great relative strength overall. Looking for a pullback into the 10-day moving average and gap zone. Just an undercut of 200 would do the job there. ALAB, this is up, I think, 14% after hours, going into new all-time highs. So all-time highs is 147-ish. And then if we go to like a 30-minute chart, you can see that we're trading at 157 after hours. Whenever an IPO is breaking into all-time highs, it's something that I'll watch for an opening range break and try to play for a move higher. And ALAB being in the right kind of group with semiconductors and being in an AI race right now, I think that's a stock that you'll have to watch. ASTS, I put this on the list. I know Rocket Lab reports Thursday after the close. This reports Monday after the close. So a little bit more space, no pun intended, until earnings. Just looking for a breakthrough today's high and yesterday's high, right around that 52.80 spot as a place to manage risk. BE, another energy name that every time it has bad news, it just gets soaked up. And that's a sign that the stocks can typically continues to rally higher. Looking for just an undercut of the gap zone from yesterday, the 5-day moving average, as our entry stop would be yesterday's low or the 10-day moving average. TME, this is probably the strongest Chinese stock, this in FUTU. Great island gap put in on Friday. Even on Friday's like sell-off, we saw some accumulation off the open on this name. Since then, gap up on Monday, good action today. Now we're just looking for a higher low pullback into either the 10-day or the 20-day versus that low. And then AMSC, I think this name is extended. It's similar to BE where whenever it has bad news, it just immediately gets bought right back up. And when you have that in the right kind of theme, it's a stock that can make monster moves. And it's already made, I mean, a monster move from 14 to 56. So short term, it is extended. I would use this as kind of like a performance booster trade where if we gap up and reclaim the high volume close from earnings, that would be my entry. The stop would be today's low. And then I would look to try to sell into strength or at least a piece into strength right away to eliminate the risk on the trade. Then the short setups. First, we have HIMS. Wacky action today. And unfortunately, I think this really trapped a lot of buyers. We gapped down to start the day, basically gapped down 12%, rallied all the way up, went green at one point, and then sold all the way back down and closed the day down 12.4%. This, I'm just looking for like a little rally and then a loss of VWAP as a potential short versus whatever the high of the day is. And I just think like a lot of buyers are trapped at these higher prices now. And with the price action that we saw today, this can kind of start to accelerate lower, in my opinion. But as always, we're going to use a stop if we're trading that. Next two kind of bread and butter short setups that I've been pounding the table on. MMYT, another weekday down 0.87%. Did kind of bounce in this gap zone a little bit. So we'll look for an uppercut and fail at 93.60 as a potential short versus the high from yesterday. SFM, today was really the short or the place to short through that 10-day moving average, the resistance gap after we uppercut and came back through that zone. Then we just saw distribution the entire rest of the day. This is a monster stage 2 uptrend, a big stage 3 top. And now that we've lost the 200 day, feels like we're beginning that stage 4 decline. It is a slower mover, so I mean, maybe that's not something that you trade, but overall, when this trends, it tends to trend really well. So we could play it for a longer move to the downside. QUBT got some good news today. Gapped up, rallied 8.2%. Just looking at this gap zone from the 23rd to the 24th, right around 1750. If we can uppercut and fail at that area, that would be my entry on the short. Stop would be whatever the high of the day is, or 1 or 2%. And just looking for a lower high in the overall structure. And then if we do see more momentum getting sucked out of the market, that's going to give us a really good risk reward for the entry. NEGG continues to be the most annoying stock that I try to short. We're seeing a lot of churning here, but it's not breaking down. It's not closing below the 5-day moving average. So I think this could be a long or a short. If we gap up an opening range break, you could take that long and try to play for a performance booster to the upside. If we either gap down or if we lose today's low and the 5-day moving average, then given where we've rallied to, given that we've kind of stalled at new highs, trapping some people if we start to accelerate to the downside, I think that's a good short. So I, I've only been able to survive trying to short this because I'm not stubborn with it. It's not a name that you're allowed to be stubborn if you're trying to short. So on strength, that's buyable. On weakness, it's shortable. CVM, this is one of those names that I think is just being just heavily manipulated at this point. We've covered this in other videos like OST. Take a look at that chart. PCLA, PTHL. The next two are in that same theme. So I did start like a tiny short position in this today. We'll see if we can continue to build into this. But overall, I think it's probably one of those manipulated shares. Same with AGH, massive volume in one day on the 23rd. Continue to wedge higher. I don't think this is ready to break down just yet. It's not doing anything wrong structurally. So we'll still give it some time. But if we get like a big gap up, then a loss of VWAP, that could be taken versus the high of the day. So that's going to be the daily market recap for Tuesday, August 5th. Sorry for getting this out so late, but hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you in the next video.